On the 11th of February 2023, 16-year-old Brianna Ghey was found brutally stabbed by a member of the public on a footpath in Culcheth Linear Park. But who was she and what happened? Brianna Ghey was a 16-year-old transgender female and a Year 11 student at Birchwood Community High School. Her parents described her as a larger-than-life character who would leave a lasting impression on all that met her. According to her friends, Ghey would often help younger trans girls safely and legally access hormone replacement therapy. They also said that before Ghey was killed, she had faced years of transphobic harassment and bullying, including at school, a part of which was being repeatedly gang beaten. Birchwood's head teacher said, "I spoke again to Brianna's mum, who confirmed that Brianna was not bullied at Birchwood and always felt well supported by the school, and she gave me permission to share this with you all." In addition to being a student, Ghey was also a TikToker under the name @GingerPuppyX, where she would upload videos of herself miming and dancing to popular songs.
One last try. I'm giving life one last try.
On the afternoon of February 11th, 2023, Ghey was found with multiple stab wounds on a path in Culcheth Linear Park by members of the public. Emergency services were called at 3:13 p.m. and she was pronounced dead at 4:02 p.m. by paramedics at the scene. A Home Office post-mortem was ordered to determine the cause of death. On the 15th of February 2023, prosecutor Leanne Gallagher said the attack on Ghey was extremely brutal and punishing. A post-mortem examination found that Ghey had been stabbed 28 times across her neck, chest, head and back. Ghey's funeral was held at St Elpham's Church, Warrington on the 15th of March 2023. February 12, 2023, two 15-year-old suspects, Eddie Ratcliffe from Lee and Scarlett Jenkinson from Warrington, were arrested simultaneously at their homes by Cheshire Police.
Scarlett, this is what I've got to say.
Yeah.
At this moment, because the information I have received, you are under arrest on suspicion of murder. Obviously you are under caution, so anything you say is getting recorded. Okay.
If me being suspect is because I was the last person seen her, or how come I'm suspect?
Pardon?
How come I'm a suspect?
How come you're a
Is it
suspect?
because I'm the last person that's seen her, or is it?
I don't know. All the information I've received is you are a suspect, okay, for the murder.
Yeah. You Eddie?
Yeah.
Eddie, you're locked up suspicion of murder, alright? You don't have to say anything, but you may harm you if you don't mention when questioned. So you later line in court, and if you do say evidence, do you understand?
Yeah.
Unlock these.
I can't explain it.
No, listen.
Right, listen.
Do it all on interview, alright?
Yeah.
You're going to take it to the call and you'll be interviewed about it, they'll ask you questions, alright?
Yeah.
While in custody, Jenkinson was found to have traits of autism and ADHD. Ratcliffe was diagnosed after his arrest as autistic and having selective mutism, resulting in him not being able to speak to anyone except his mother. Reasonable accommodations were made for both accused during the trial. Because of his selective mutism, Eddie was allowed to communicate with court by typing on the computer. Both perpetrators were given the option to participate in proceedings via a video link rather than in person. The jury were also told that both Jenkinson and Ratcliffe could react or speak differently in the proceedings due to their diagnosis. Both Jenkinson and Ratcliffe made separate defence cases. Each defendant placed the blame for the actual killing upon the other, arguing that they themselves were only accessories to the act. Defence for Ratcliffe said that Jenkinson had told him to bring his hunting knife to the park and that she had a plan to stab Brianna. Ratcliffe further stated that he did not take Jenkinson's alleged plan seriously because she had a history of always talking about murder and nothing happens. This allegedly ended with Jenkinson stabbing Ghey to death, which he saw. He denied holding any animosity towards Ghey regarding her trans identity. Ratcliffe's defence accused Jenkinson of manipulating him due to his autism. Jenkinson's defence held that while she may have lured Ghey to the park where she was stabbed and come up with the plan in question, it was only done so as part of a fantasy, and that it was Ratcliffe who carried out the stabbing to Jenkinson's shock. She described herself as not stopping the act despite her surprise due to being afraid of Ratcliffe, describing him as a sociopath. Jenkins' defense also pointed out how an excess amount of Jai's blood was found later on Ratcliffe's clothing, while none was found on Jenkinson's. Do you think any of these scenarios are accurate? Or do you think that they are both as bad as each other and trying to get lesser sentences by turning on each other? But what actually happened on the day she died? Brianna leaves her home to take the bus and meet the two suspects, which is confirmed by a text message she sent her mum at 1:41 p.m. saying, "I'm on the bus by myself, I'm well scared." This was a big deal for her as she suffered with severe anxiety. Her mother replied, giving her some words of encouragement. At 2:30 p.m, the dynamic had changed between the trio, as Brianna had sent a message to another friend calling Scarlett weird. For around 30 minutes before Brianna sent this text, Scarlett was messaging herself on a fake Snapchat account, pretending to be a dealer to keep Brianna with them. The only person who knows what happened next are Scarlett and Eddie, but less than 45 minutes later, Brianna was found with 28 stab wounds by some dog walkers. During trial, it was revealed that Brianna considered Scarlett Jenkinson a friend, and she had arranged to meet up with her on the day that she died. Scarlett and Eddie had known each other since they were 11, when they both started at Culcheth High School. Brianna had not met Eddie previously and was introduced to him through Scarlett that day. Brianna believed the three of them were going to hang out together in the park, but the sickening reality was that Brianna had been lured there under false pretenses. The trial heard how Jenkinson and Ratcliffe had a fascination with violence, torture, and murder, and had planned the killing for weeks. Messages between them showed they encouraged one another to think about how they would actually carry out a killing. Other text messages between the defendants indicated a transphobic motive behind the killing. Scarlett spoke about how she had become obsessed over Brianna, with Eddie using language that would dehumanize Brianna due to her gender identity. This led to the UK media speculating that this was the sole reason she was murdered. However, prosecutors have suggested that Scarlett's kill list contained 5 names and Brianna was the only one who identified as trans. The others were male students from their school. Scarlett attempted to provide an alibi for herself and Eddie by using Brianna's phone to text herself at 3:03 p.m. saying, "Girl, where are you?" and then replying, "Why would you ditch us for some guy from Manchester?" The police have confirmed that Brianna had already been stabbed by this point. Do you think she planned this, or is this something she did spontaneously? On February 15th, 2023, Brianna's phone was found in a drain covered in blood in an area where Scarlett and Eddie were seen shortly after being with Brianna. On February 2nd, 2024, the sentencing hearing was held at Manchester Crown Court, before which the two teenagers were named as Scarlett Jenkinson and Eddie Ratcliffe in the media. The judge determined that there was a strong public interest in the full and unrestricted reporting of what is plainly an exceptional case. The sentencing hearing included victim impact statements from Jai's parents and stepfather. The court also heard updated assessments by psychiatrists of the perpetrators. Jenkinson has antisocial personality disorder rather than autism, and that Ratcliffe has a mild form of autistic spectrum personality disorder. Scarlett Jenkinson was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum sentence of 22 years, and Eddie Ratcliffe was also given a life sentence with a minimum term of 20 years, both with a reduction of 352 days due to what they have already spent on remand. Jenkinson will become eligible to be considered for parole on the 25th of January 2044, while Ratcliffe will become eligible to be considered for parole on the 25th of January 2042. In handing down the sentence, Judge Justice Yip described the murder as sadistic in nature.
Scarlett, I have concluded that the primary motivation for Brianna's murder was your deep desire to kill. The messages reveal your fantasies and show your sadistic motives. Brianna's murder was exceptionally brutal. Your actions after the event and what you have told Dr. Church confirm you enjoyed the killing. Eddie, although your motives may not have been the same, you knew what Scarlett wanted to do and why. You understood her desire to see Brianna suffer. You actively participated in this brutal murder, knowing the sadistic motives behind it. I find also that you, Eddie, were motivated in part by hostility towards Brianna because she was transgender.
Do you believe this judge's ruling to be fair? Was Eddie involved because of some form of transphobia, and was there no motive but just to take part in the murder for Scarlett? Since they have both been imprisoned, Scarlett has already been found with another kill list containing prison staff names, whereas Eddie has maintained his innocence, claiming he was behind a tree urinating when Scarlett first stabbed Brianna. Personally, I feel like this is a big indicator with who was the ringleader. I don't see their motives stemming from transphobia, but from a morbid interest in taking someone's life. In the investigation and aftermath, the media speculated that Brianna was killed due to being transgender and that this was a hate crime. However, this was found to be false during the trial, as a kill list containing 5 names were found, and Brianna was the only transgender person on that list. Unfortunately, she was most likely killed due to how accessible she was to Scarlett. Do you believe this to be a hate crime, or is this a crime of convenience? Some UK media outlets were criticised for their reporting of her death. The Trans Safety Network said that some UK media outlets were publicly disrespecting Brianna in the coverage of her death. Initial reports by both BBC News and Sky News did not state that she was transgender. The Times faced strong criticism after amending their original story by removing the word girl and including Brianna's dead name. The Times later amended their story again to remove the dead name and re-add the word girl. Twitter campaigns called for the UK government to issue a gender recognition certificate to Brianna so that she can have the dignity and death that everyone else in this world takes for granted. A petition circulated reaching more than 13,000 signatures for Brianna's death certificate to reflect her gender as female. The Gender Recognition Act 2004 provides a route to achieving full legal recognition of a transgender person's gender. It is not available to minors. The immediate outcry, both domestically and internationally, was over the assumption that her death certificate would likely misgender her. The petition was rejected by the British government, who stated in response that the current policy strikes the right balance and that they had no plans to change it. In April 2023, the Trans Safety Network reported, contrary to popular belief, in an ongoing case concerning a trans person's death, the coroner has agreed that a gender recognition certificate is unnecessary in order to record the correct name and gender of a trans person on their death certificate. In the days after her death, a TikTok memorial account and a GoFundMe page were set up by Brianna's friends to support her family. It raised £70,000 in 3 days and amassed over 36,000 followers on TikTok. After Brianna's fundraising page amassed £100,000, her family thanked people for their overwhelming generosity and stated the money was spent on her funeral, refurbishing her room, and the purchase of cremation jewellery for the family's remembrance. Some of the donations were designated for a UK children's mental health charity. Candlelit vigils were held across the United Kingdom and in Dublin, Ireland in the week after her death. The attendance for many of these vigils numbered in the hundreds to thousands. A Cheshire Police investigating officer said her family were overwhelmed by the messages of support, positivity, and compassion across the country and beyond. What do you think about this case? Do you think it was a hate crime, or do you think it was just a crime of convenience? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to subscribe so you get notified about my next true crime case. And if you'd like to read more about Brianna, Scarlett, or Eddie, follow the link in the description down below, where it also supports my channel.